Hello, so this is going to be a quick demo of the Covia web application, which is an interface that enables you to access everything that's available on the Covia Grid. So the key concept to start off with is this idea of an asset. So in Covia, everything is an asset, whether that's a data asset or a compute asset or even an AI model operation. So let's take a look at some examples of some assets. So I've got some assets available here. Here I've got the iris data set. And if we take a look at that, we can see that this is a machine learning data set. It's got some metadata about it. And very importantly, it's got this asset ID. And the asset ID is a cryptographic hash of all the metadata, so that you can actually verify that this metadata is correct, it hasn't been tampered with, and it's exactly the same version that the asset ID refers to. So in fact, everything on the Covia Grid is in fact content addressable because of these cryptographic hashes. And of course, if you want to see the data, you can just download that, have a look at that data, and you can see it's a nice CSV file with all the data set inside. So this is an example of a data asset, but let's look at something more interesting. Let's look at an operation asset. So an operation asset is something that you can execute. So here we've got an LLM model, we've got a Quen model, which we're using via LangChain. So the grid enables you to connect to any kind of different AI model or agent, and I can give it a prompt, something like write me a poem, and I can run that, and it's going to take a few seconds because it's calling the LLM, but after a few seconds it's going to come back with some kind of output. So here it's written me a nice little poem called Whispers in the Night. And because it's a thinking model, it's giving me both the reply but also the thoughts that went behind this poem creation process. And that's an important concept. Any operation can have multiple inputs and also potentially multiple outputs. But where it gets really interesting is when you start to join these operations together in order to actually orchestrate them. So let's take a look at an orchestration. So we've got a test orchestration here, and as you can say, this is a graph of different components, each of which are individual operations, which are going to get run in turn when you execute the operation. So if I run this with some input, it's going to execute it. It's coming back with a number of different outputs. It's gone through a whole number of different steps, and you can actually see all the individual substeps, what's actually happened to each of these. So if I click through to one of this, I can see that this was one of the sub-steps that happened in the process of completing that job. And if I want to look back at the overall history, I can see all the different operations I've ever run, how long they took, when I executed them. And if I wanted to go back and have a look at one of the operations I did, so for example this poem, I can see this here. Now this of course is just a user interface view of the grid. We also have a full Swagger API, which lets you see all the underlying REST API endpoints. So if you're a developer wanting to work with the grid directly, it's very easy. There are very simple REST API endpoints that you can access exactly the same kind of functionality that you can through the front end. So hopefully that's a useful introduction to the Covia app. As I say, it's an early prototype and we'll be adding a lot more features very soon, so stay tuned. Thank you very much.